3 long days, some I don't know. It takes a little more than what you show, and that's yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Welcome to Bobby Finn Knows Everyone, a Pull Tab Sports production. I am Bobby Finn, born and bred on the St. Paul's East Side, where it's all about looking out for each other, blue-collar hard work, and telling like it is, no BS. Sometimes your reputation got you in a little trouble. Other times it helped you out. As usual today with me, Tom Lord. How are you?
Doing pretty good. My reputation has not gotten me in any trouble today, so I'm feeling like I'm not quite an East Sider, but I never really was anyway. So
You did go to St. Pascal's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's right.
Back in the day. But, hey, speaking of St. Paul, we have a very cool special guest today. Bobby Finn Knows Everyone, so of course I know our guest. St. Paul Saints Executive Vice President and co-owner, Tom Whaley. How are you, Tom?
I'm flying high today. It's been a good one.
Been a good one, yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So we can't even call you a co-owner anymore, right?
No, I'm done.
You're done.
You sold.
I'm out. Sold out.
Yeah.
Flip state's evidence. I'm gone.
Okay, well, yeah.
So I didn't know the Saints were even going up for sale. So it's like
Yeah, it was
under
pretty
the
quiet.
radar?
Yeah, it was pretty quiet. It was a hard decision for everybody to sell because everybody was just absolutely in love with the club. But 30 years is 30 years.
30 years is
it's
remarkable.
Nothing lasts forever. It's time to go.
Yeah, right.
So let somebody else see what they can do with it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what you did in the 30 years, right? From when you first looked at Midway. I mean, I played at Midway growing up.
Right.
Because high school, that's where we played all our conference.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And that's an old stadium.
It's and that's the thing too. I was telling Mike Veeck, we did a event a few weeks ago at the ballpark, kind of recognizing the 4 founders, and I just said to Mike, I'm like, this thing was a joke in the sports pages in 1992, and I said now and it's not. I'm not saying it to pat anybody on the back, but I said it's arguably the most popular minor league baseball. It's at the pinnacle of its industry, and it went in 30 years. It went from a joke in the sports page that was going to be out of business by the 4th of July to, a major league team wanted to have us as their affiliate. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Incredible.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I mean, 30 years is a long go, and there's a new documentary out right now about the Saints and Mike Veeck. And have you watched it? What
I
were
have.
Your thoughts?
I went to Mike invited me to the premiere. It was in New York in June, and went out there and didn't quite know what to expect, but the guys that he partnered with, Morgan Neville, one of the directors we've known for a long, long time, and Morgan's one of the coolest drinks of water you'll ever meet, and he crushed it. When I walked out of there, it takes you. It's hilarious. It's sad. It takes you through so many emotions, and I've had so many people, call me and text me about it that because they know my association with the Saints, just people I haven't talked to in years that saw the thing. So I think it's going, as it goes here, I think it's going to resonate with folks. It's a really intriguing story.
Yeah, and it's a lot about Mike and his relationship with his dad and his relationship with his family, and so it's really interesting, and I can see how they took that track. You didn't get any screen time. I was kind of disappointed.
No, I
didn't. You're the guy that has, and I know you, and I've known people who know you, and I know that you're a very humble person. But from what I understand, you are quite an influence on that team, and the guy behind the guy that doesn't get a lot of recognition. And maybe that's how you like it.
I do.
That's how you like it.
I'm a drummer, man. I sit in the back and hope nobody sees me, but I like to, knock things around and do dumb stuff. So that's pretty much me. I don't need to be under the.
You can see how they take that track, right? They like those personal stories, and they're trying to drive it in a certain, they have the story arc, and they have a lot of great stories in there. But from what I understand, you were as responsible as anybody for a lot of the promotions, a lot of the history, a lot of the stories, a lot of the successes.
We had a chat. I was watching the movie, and I never thought about this. Jeff Daniels did the narration on it.
Oh, is that
and
who it is?
There's
Okay.
one point in there where he says, it's not said enough, but he just said, he goes, the St. Paul Saints changed baseball.
Yeah.
And we never, ever thought in those terms. I mean, nobody's trying to change anything. We were just trying to have some fun. And so But to hear that kind of on a big screen, they screened it at Tribeca, and the whole thing was a big deal and everything. And to hear somebody who you have no connection to say that, and that made that into the thing, it kind of got to me. I was like, wow, really?
Right.
We changed baseball. I'm like, but then you walk away from it and you're like, no, we did some fun stuff. We did some cool stuff, and you can look now at how the major and minor leagues operate and versus how it was, was happening 30 years ago, and you can see, okay, all right, maybe we moved the needle a little bit.
You moved it a lot. I mean, baseball is really a boring sport. It's a slow sport. I mean, I love it, but a lot of people don't love it because it is a slow, boring sport. If you don't really know all the intricacies that go on in a baseball game, you kind of lose it a little bit. You guys added just craziness to it. I mean, it's fun. But
well, the fun thing about it was, and this is so I've thought a little bit about it now, like going back, why, how, did it happen and all this sort of stuff. But the thing was, and this was kind of the genius of how the office was put together. When we opened in St. Paul in 1993, June 18th. I won't ever forget it. It was raining. I think we played the game, but it wasn't rained out. But it was absolutely miserable. We were going to get the game in, but it took like 5 hours and had 4 rain delays. We didn't have a tarp back then, if you can believe that. So we're like squeegeeing off the infield. We had 7 front office people like catering. I think that night we had it was like not quite 5,000 fans in the place. And we had 7 people, 2 of which had actually worked in baseball before. Like everybody else was just fans. Right. So there were 2, Bill Fanning, the GM, and Mike had actually worked games. The rest of us had never worked a game in our lives and didn't know what we were doing. And that's part of it is like we absolutely were just making shit up as we went. And if it was funny and made us laugh and felt like a good thing to do and fans might dig this or they might think it's fun, we just did it. And so I look back on that, and that was like a key thing is that front office was just kind of built with fans.
Well, that kind of gets you to your whole story, right? As far as the Saints goes. I mean, you're a lawyer. You went to law school, and you hitched your wagon.
2 states decided it was a good idea to admit me to the bar, but whatever.
But you hitched your wagon, your professional wagon, to this eccentric, off-the-wall, crazy person that is just fun, right? And just, the ideas that he came up with, you're like, that's a risky move.
I just didn't. I didn't think of it. I mean, I ended up in Minnesota completely on a lark because I graduated from law school. I went to law school in St. Louis. That's where I'm from. I'm born and raised there. But I had gone to undergrad in Winona at St. Mary's. But then I went back, and my real life was going to start, and I went to law school. And I come out of law school. My last year in law school, my brother comes home. He was 2 years younger than me. We went to school together, played in bands and stuff. And it was Thanksgiving Friday of my 3rd year in law school. My brother had already moved up to the Twin Cities, and he's like, dude, we're doing the band. He goes, he goes, don't do this law thing right now. He goes, come on up. Because we all played music together at school. He's like, we got, all the guys are coming together, and he goes, we don't have anybody playing drums. He's like, just do it. And I'm like, dude, I can't. I already got my office picked out. My uncle, I was clerking and going to be employed by my uncle's law firm, big insurance defense firm, and I was going to be a litigator. And I'm like, I can't do that. Well, we ended up over on the east side getting hammered, and when we came home, the birds were chirping. It was a really warm night out for Thanksgiving Friday. And he'd convinced me. I'm like, okay, I'll move to Minnesota and play drums in the band.
It's because you're at the east side? You're on the east side of St. Paul?
Well, we were on the east side of St. Louis, but...
Oh, okay. Well, east side, no matter what.
It was a little safer back then.
Side,
yeah.
I was east side.
Yeah.
But, no, and so the whole thing was a lark. I moved up here on a lark to play drums in a band, so the working for a fledgling independent minor league baseball team that seemed like a good idea at the time.
So was Mike as crazy as the show made him out to be? Is he?
He's certifiable. Yeah, he's just a lot of fun. The first time I actually met him, I talked to him on the phone. I wrote him a letter. I was home with my daughter. She was really young. She was sick and couldn't go to daycare, so I was home with her. And it was K-Fan. It was the first year of K-Fan, 1992 or 3. 1 maybe, I don't know, whenever K-Fan was. It was, and they had an afternoon program, and they had a guy named Miles Wolff on the radio who ended up being the founder of the Northern League, which was the league the Saints started in. And Miles was talking about this independent baseball thing in St. Paul, and I was like, damn, I was a big, huge baseball fan, Cardinals guy, the whole day. I'm like, man, that sounds like fun. And it's cool, but I didn't know this. He was talking about the state. He had never even, I don't think he'd been to St. Paul, but he was talking about this stadium, and I never knew where it was. Had no idea, but I'm like, man, that sounds cool. That Sunday, my buddy, the singer in our band's a big Packers guy, and we're driving over to Gabe's. He's like, let's go watch the Packers. I'm like, where the hell is Gabe's?
Yeah.
And we drive right by the stadium. I'm like, oh, shit, that's where they're doing the minor league team. So, but I didn't actually meet Mike for about a year. We were just kind of, phone calling and that kind of stuff. But the first time I met him, we were hanging out on the railing at Midway Stadium watching the trains go by, and he's smoking cigarettes, and we talked about music for 2 hours. We did not talk about baseball one time. And I'm getting in the car, and we had played Eau Claire the night before. My drums were in my car. It's the exact same kit he played when he was in a road band in Maryland. Ludwig, Butcher Block finish, the whole deal. And he's like, this is going to be great. I'm like, what's going to be great? He goes, you're going to be great. This is going to be, I'm like, I'm going to be great at what?
Am I
And he's like, no, this is totally going to work. He goes, this is going to be really fun. And we did not talk about baseball once in 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. He loved you're a music guy.
It was,
You
we were just,
together.
we connected about music. That's all
Yeah.
we talked about music. And
Go
so,
Foundation, right?
yeah, that's all it was. And, it was, anyway.
Apparently, he and his wife bonded over music as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's in the doc. That was
yeah.
absolutely. And he's got an absolutely photographic memory. For a band can come on, or you can mention a band or a song or a year, and he just like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
Really?
Fascinating. He's like a Rolodex of, well, we don't have those anymore. What is he? He's like an internet of music or something.
All right. While we're talking about music, you're a drummer. Give us your top 2 or 3 drummers.
Oh.
Well, I know where he's going with
I
Neil
do.
Peart.
Yeah.
He's
Neil
going
Neil Peart of
first.
Rush. I mean,
Yeah.
that guy's like my muse, man. He was the man.
Neil Peart, Rush. Okay. Number 1 with a bullet.
With a big bullet. A big Keith Moon guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Love Keith Moon. I'm more. I love Ringo. Like, the older I get, you can appreciate Ringo. When you're like young and in a band and everything, you're like, oh, the Beatles aren't that cool, blah, blah, blah. Now you like get a little older and you step back and like, damn, that guy was good. He was. So he's a hero. But yeah, I would say Neil Peart. I could never play like him, but he mesmerizes me. Was Buddy Rich. Like, I watched that guy, and I'm like, that is not a human being doing that. He's crazy. I'm not a jazz guy, but
Well, what about the guy from Def Leppard? He's got 1 arm. Could
Rick
you do
Allen?
that? Could you do
Rick
that?
Allen? No, I could not do that. Funny story. So we did a tour of ballparks.
Yeah.
Back in the early 2000s. The first year we did Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson. We did them about 25 or 30 ballparks. The second year, Bob and Willie wanted to do it again in 05, and the guys at Jam Productions in Chicago put together a bill with Def Leppard and Bryan Adams. And at the time, Def Leppard was playing casinos. I swear to God, they
dude.
were.
Yeah,
they were
for
playing
sure they were.
casinos. They were in super small venues. I loved them. I saw them their first tour On Through the Night with Ted Nugent and the Scorpions. My ears bled for like 3 weeks. It was so cool because they were like 17, 18-year-old kids from England. They were just like crazy. And Rick Allen, this was before he had his car accident where he lost his arm. He's a better drummer with 1 arm, I swear to God. Than no, he's
was
like
with
seriously.
2 arms?
No, I mean it. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say that,
right.
but like he like completely like pulled his playing back and got to like the essence of who he is because he was working with like limited capabilities. But anyway, I bring that up because he's one of the coolest guys ever. You kind of get to hang around him a little bit or whatever. And after every show, he'd have a tent set up backstage, and he'd pull these at-risk teenage boys out of the show, invite them to the show. And these are kids who'd been in and out of juvie. Every community he went to, he did this every single night. And he would sit around for an hour, and he was one of them when he was growing up.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And he goes, music saved me. And he goes, you need to find what saves you, because he would tell him, you're not on the right road here, fellas. And he'd feed them, give them food, and they'd sit around and they just watch this guy do this massive show on stage, playing to 15,000
up to
people.
him.
And it was the coolest thing. And he was like religious about it. He just did it every night. And I was like, I asked him one time, I'm like, why do you guys do? And he's like, man, he goes, it's the only reason to do this.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't even want to tell my joke now.
What?
Do you know what has 9 arms and socks?
No.
Def Leppard.
Oh,
Don't say that. Def Leppard's sweet,
nice,
dude.
It's a good joke, and they would appreciate it.
And
I
I
guarantee
actually
you.
love Def Leppard too.
I know, I love
Def
them.
Leppard
They're
Tesla
awesome.
is my favorite concert ever.
And then when you were with Mike, did you ever feel like, I don't know, I mean, you guys, a ton of promotions, right? A ton of crazy promotions. I know you both have come up with a lot. Was there any like hesitancy with any of them? Like, I don't know if we should do that, Mike, or like, because I know he's off the rails sometimes. He came from the White Sox where they did the Burn the Disco Records night.
Oh yeah,
People stormed the field. Watch the documentary if you haven't seen it. And I mean, they talk a lot about like he's like, God, I kind of like ruined my father's legacy. He was like so afraid of it, but
Right.
obviously he's done so well. You guys have done so well to rebuild like any kind of failures that you may have had. But is there anything that you put on the table like, shit, we can't do that? That's kind of crazy.
You know, this is a semi-serious answer to that question, which I normally am opposed to, but it's our line basically is we don't do anything that's mean-spirited. If it feels like it's mean-spirited, and we've done some really edgy stuff and some biting stuff, but I don't think we've ever done anything that's really mean.
Okay.
Trying to think.
Alabama had disagree with that.
Absolutely true.
The Aints.
The Aints.
We can talk about that.
That was no, but see that wasn't really mean spirited because there's a really very cool story.
So
about
tell that story. So it's a
Okay, so I was driving into work one day and weather was crappy out and I'm crawling into work, and you know normally my drive's 20 minutes. It took me like an hour and a half to get to Midway, and on the way I'm driving, and of course we're going like half a mile an hour for whatever 20 miles, and I see this billboard come up. And it's about this convention, the National Association or the World Association of Atheists is coming to Minneapolis this summer. And they had a really funny ad that followed. I don't even remember the substance of the ad, but it was funny.
Sure.
So I came into work and I talked to one of our younger sales guys. I'm like, hey, go call it. There's probably got to be some association with Minnesota atheists. I'm like, call them up. They're hosting this gigantic meeting. I'm like, see if we can get a group sale out of it or whatever. And so he does. He calls them up and he comes in my office later in the afternoon. He's like, yeah, I got a meeting with those guys. They sounds really fun. Well, the whole thing just sort of took off, and they ended up wanting to sponsor the night. And they did a group of like 1,000 people or some people they brought out to the game and big party. It was a huge deal for us. But they were so cool about it and wanted to get involved in the promotion and the planning and all this other stuff. But then they started telling us all the crappy things that happen to atheists. Like their kids get bullied at school, their houses get defaced, they lose their jobs, all because they don't believe in God. And we're like, well, fuck
You're right.
that.
Yeah.
They're going to have a night, man. We're going to do this. So we did it, and one of the upshots of it was we switched our uniforms around, and we took the first S off of Saints, and we were Aints. And it made it out there. It kind of made some national news and stuff.
Hate
And
mail.
Oh my
Aints.
God, the hate mail was flipping legendary.
So now it's not like you guys were mean-spirited. People were being mean-spirited about the Saints and about the atheists.
And about
Yeah.
the atheists. We're like,
Yeah.
Mike, who are these a-holes? You know, that
Yeah.
they're like, so we like took it on. We're like, all right, we're doing this thing. And it ended up being, a great event. They were really fun to work with. We ended up doing something. We probably did that like 3 or 4 years in a row. But it was really cool. But the hate mail was like, you can do promotions about sex, drugs, rock and roll, but man, you better stay away from religion because they were going to do horrible things to us.
Yeah.
And you would think. Well, I ask you this: where would you think the worst mail would come from?
I think South. I think like Texas, Oklahoma,
Right?
It's got to be the Bible Belt, right?
Bible Belt.
Totally. Ohio. Swear to God. No, like I don't spend a lot of time in Ohio, and I will spend less because of that promotion. Because holy cow, these were flamers coming out of Ohio. The stuff they were going to do to us after we were dead was not very Christian. That's all I'm going to say.
It's not very Christian.
It's not very Christian. So, yeah, that was That was a good one. That was fun. That one, we got some national run for that one. So that was
And do you have favorites in your couple top favorite? Oh, that's a favorite, obviously.
That's a huge
But
fave.
is there other, like, how about the ones where you kind of trolled the other teams or things that happen in the whether it's the cities here or like
we
things
had,
that are happening.
Well,
pop
back in
culture.
the day, the Vikings were fertile ground for promotion.
Wasn't there like one of the all-time best receivers? Didn't he have one?
Oh yeah, Randy. We had Randy
I
Moss
didn't
Hood
think we were
Ornament
supposed
night.
to say his
Randy-
name anymore.
Randy thought it'd be a good idea to get baked and
over
splay
the top.
himself on the top of a transit cop's hood of her car or whatever going down Nicollet
So you
Avenue.
did Randy Moss Hood Ornament night.
Yeah, we got in a little. Well, it ended up working itself out, but we got in a little bit of hot water. His agent was not. At least I think he was amused, but he didn't sound like
He
it on the
couldn't show
phone
it?
when he calls. Yeah, he couldn't. So he's reading us the riot act, and he's going to put us out of business, and we're going to get sued into the next month, and all this other stuff. And but the funniest part of that conversation was, I mean, and he absolutely lit Derek and me up. Like from a legal standpoint, because he talked to Derek first, and Derek's like, he goes, "Can you get on this next call with this guy and just calm him the F down?" He goes, he's on fire. So I'm like, okay, so I'm making like the counterpoints to what he's making, legally and all this other stuff. And bottom line is, they could have had us if they wanted us, But the telltale was, and I'm not lying, we hung up the phone and we're like, okay, we averted disaster there. I don't think they're going to sue us. We are going to do the promotion. And the guy calls me up 10 minutes later and he's like, yeah, he goes, not for nothing. He goes, can you send 3 of those over? Randy'd like a few copies.
That's fantastic.
They were awesome. They were actual real hoard ornaments. You could peel off the bottom and stick them on your.
Oh, I want one.
It's pretty good. I don't know if they exist anymore.
Oh, eBay's got to have them.
But yeah.
So there's Randy Moss Hood Ornaments. There was the Love Boat. You guys gave
Love
out
Boat
boats.
was a good one.
Yeah.
They did not care for us too much back in the day. The Vikings were.
They made their own bed.
They did, and that's the thing.
it
I'm
too
like,
easy.
if you're the big Kahuna and you do dumb stuff, somebody's gonna do something.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's gonna do something.
You stayed away from the really bad stuff they did.
Yeah. We're not
I
gonna
mean,
make.
Yeah,
we're
you
not
went
making.
with the funny stuff.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, somebody, whatever.
Yeah,
What about the Ontario Smith Wizinator night? You guys didn't want to do that?
Did we?
that would have been a good one.
That would have been. Did we do something with? I can't remember.
Probably
Man,
did.
they're running. Maybe we did. We did. We might have at least at a minimum like done a press release.
I
or
like
something about
I like
Wizinator.
the All-Star game tie. I think
Oh.
I like the whole story
Was-
about you. Send it out to you. Tell
Well,
the story.
that one was really cool because, and this is back in the day. So this was 90. I forget what year they tied the All-Star game. It was probably 96, 97, something around there. And we're all baseball fans, so we go home after there was a Saints game that night, and we had one on. We had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All-Star game was on a Tuesday. We go home after our game, or we might have had an afternoon game. We all watched the All-Star game, and we're like horrified that they're like, "Oh my God, they ended Major League Baseball ended a game in a tie." We're like, "That's you can do a lot of stuff to deface the game, but you don't end a game in a tie. We don't do ties in baseball. It's the one you can knock baseball all you want, but we don't end a game in a tie ever." So I come in the next morning. It's like 7:00, and Bill Fisher, our merch guy, and I are having coffee, and he says, he goes, "Wales," and I'm like, "That game?" I'm like, "What the hell were they thinking?" So we're kind of commiserating, throwing shade on Major League Baseball, and I'm like, "We got to do something, Fish. What can we do?" And he's like, "I don't know. What are we going to do with ties?" He's like, I got to contact at Goodwill. I can get a bunch of ties. Do we want to give away a bunch of 500 ties tonight? I'm like, "Oh, all right. Now we got something." And people are kind of filling into the office. So we get around, and by 8:00, we kind of had this idea. We're doing Bud Selig tie night that night, and we're going to give away 500. We had to find an unflattering caricature of Bud and get it screen printed on the tie. And the bad ties, we wanted bad ties, and we're going to give them away at the game. Like, all right. So Fish lines that all up. He's got the ties. He's got the screen guy. We're off and running. And I was talking with some of our media folks, and we knew a guy named Darren Ravel, who's a noted sports business reporter now. He's like a big deal now.
He's a big deal.
But he's like an ESPN reporter guy back then, and he would always say he loved us, and he'd be like, "Send me. You guys are doing something." He goes, "Give me first crack at something sometime." And he goes, "I just love what you do." And I'm like, "Okay." So I thought, I'm like, we should call Darren about this one. I'm like, oh, hey, Darren, just giving you a heads up. I don't know if you want to do anything with this. And he freaked. He's like, oh, my God, I got to have one of those ties. And it's like 10 in the morning. I'm like, what? He goes, can you get a tie out here? I'm like, well, we're giving it away tonight. And I'm like, there's no way. He goes, just can you find a way to get one of those? He goes, send me some ties. And he goes, I'll get it on Sports Center tonight. And I'm like, what? He goes, get me the ties. I'm like, all right. So we call around, and Mike knew two buddies of his were baggage guys at Northwest Airlines at the time. So I called Farrell up, and I'm like, Farrell, do you know anybody? And he's like, yeah, what do you need? And I tell him. He's like, okay, give me a couple minutes. He calls me right back. He goes, yeah. He goes, there's a flight. Leaves here at 1, lands at LaGuardia at 4. And he goes, get the ties out to me by noon. And he goes, I'll get them to the pilot, and the guy can just come meet us at the plane, and he'll give him the ties. I'm like, you're kidding me. He's like, nope. So we run out to the airport. I find Farrell. He gets the ties to the pilot. ESPN guy meets the pilot at the gate because you could go. That was the day where you could go. You could go to the plane when you was meeting somebody, and it was on Sports Center that night.
That's incredible.
I was like, what the hell? Right. How'd that? And you can't do that now. Like that would never, for a bunch of reasons.
Right.
It would never happen again. But yeah, it happened. It was nuts.
God, that's fantastic.
All right, let's talk about two sponsors that you're not going to get your hands on because they're our sponsors. And they do make apparel, great apparel. And one is Chill Boys, because Chill Boys makes life-changing underwear. I don't know if you've tried them, Tom, but they are life-changing bamboo boxers and briefs. They're made out of this material that I don't know how they do it, but they keep you cool where it counts. They keep the boys real chill downstairs, and I'll tell you what, in the last couple of days, it's been like 80, 85 degrees. I don't know why, in late September, October. And I really count on my Chill Boys. If you golf, check out these Chill Boys underwear. If you're playing baseball, check out the Chill Boys underwear. If you're on the boat, check out these Chill Boys underwear. Because Chill Boys, it's like menthol for your man parts. And I don't know what they do. Unbelievable. Check out chillboys.com.
That'll be the most action I've had in months. So
The other is Unreal. That's right. Where I'm wearing it today. Bobby, you got your Unreal shirt on?
I got my Unreal on.
Unreal. It's unreal.co. Check out unreal.co because Unreal makes great apparel for every type of athlete, whether you're the softball playing type, whether you're the super jock, whether you're the fat dad like me. They've got the best gear that makes you look cool all season long. And Unreal was started by a guy who's just had $300 in a dream to make the best apparel and sports gear out there. So check out unreal.co. And if you mention Pull Tab Sports, you get 15% off your next order. That's unreal.co. And you put in Pull Tab 15 on the website, you get 15% off your next order. So unreal.co.
They do our staff shirts.
They're great.
I was laughing Derek the other day because people ask us all the time, like they see the logo, we have it up on the shoulder kind of deal. And they're like, oh my God, you guys have a deal with Unreal? And Derek's like, yeah, we have a deal with Unreal. We give them money and they give us shirts.
That's
so
called
if the
deal,
Unreal
bro.
guys are listening, let's do a deal. Come on.
Yeah, that's called the deal.
That's funny.
Okay, so something else we do on this podcast, Tom, you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna like it. Is we do Bobby's bar review. And Bobby reviews his favorite bar of the week or the last 2 weeks, and it's kind of a hit. It's kind of a big hit. Bobby did a video, and I think it was our highest rated video out there on Instagram. So check out our Instagram, our Twitter, our
Everybody
TikTok.
likes when I drink, Tom.
Yeah. Everybody except your wife.
Everybody but my wife.
You're
All right,
you're
so
much
Bobby-
more interesting when you drink.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Bobby's bar review. Where'd you go?
We are going to go with the halftime wreck.
Halftime rack.
Because it was close to your stadium.
It was close to
know?
Midway.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
Still there. Still
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
When you're done, I'm going to have a very funny halftime rec story.
And I love the halftime rack, and it's kind of funny. I'm Irish, so I go there. I would go there on St. Patrick's Day, and you'd play bocce ball down in the basement with the
Yes.
sand, the dirt floors, but they do have touch tunes. They do have golden tee. They do have pull tabs.
They do?
Yes.
That's
got
our
everything.
go-to,
They
Tom.
got-
Does
they
that
got everything.
That's the
touch
trifecta.
tunes, pull tabs. What was the last thing? Golden tea.
Golden
They got
tea.
the trifecta.
They got the trifecta.
Okay, so that's bonus points.
Drinks are strong.
JMO Gingers,
JMO Gingers are very nice.
or like a Guinness and a what's the half
Black
and half
and
drink?
tan.
Black and tan. Yep.
The Irish car bomb.
I'm not a big fan of that. I would rather have a Irish car bomb than a black and tan.
All right.
But so the drinks are strong. So I'd say 8.7
On the what? Drinks.
on the drinks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Drinks are 8.7.
The atmosphere, it's a little dicey at times in there. So it's kind of all over the place. I don't have a problem with it, but I think other people might get a little thrown off.
But if
by
you
it,
want to go to a gritty Irish bar, it's got a good atmosphere.
Well,
Like,
that's-
it's
yeah,
not like
I
date
mean-
night material, but
well, you're not going to find many Conor McGregors in there, but it's a good spot.
You can take most of them.
You can
Yeah.
take most of
From what
them.
I've seen.
Okay, so-
But I don't. It's an absolute stop on St. Patty's Day for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say atmosphere. I'd say 8.5.
okay, 8.7, 8.5. Now we're going service.
Service, I've only been in there a few times in the last year or so, too. So the service has been pretty solid,
Okay.
So I'd say
They didn't kick you out, so that's
no, they didn't. Well,
plus.
it'd be tough to kick somebody out of that place.
Yeah, right.
I think you got to get
So unless you with a
wrecked.
last name
You
like
gotta
Finn.
get really wrecked for that. So
Okay.
I'd say the service is probably at 8, 9.
Going above 8
Yeah.
for sure. And
Wow.
then do they have food?
They do. I just had a
Okay.
burger from there not too long ago, and the burger was really good. So I'd say, I don't know what else they have, but it's
They probably got
pretty damn
fish and
good.
chips.
Somebody told me Smack Shack was part of that.
I don't think
Really?
so.
Yeah, but
I had not heard that.
so I'd say food is probably 8, 7
Okay, so
Yeah.
all in all, I'm guessing we're at like a 8.5 plus bonus points for
plus
the trifecta.
bonus the trifecta. So you're at a 8, 9.
Yeah, we're high eights.
Yeah, high
Tom, what do you
eights.
think?
Has anybody ever gotten below an 8?
Not, if they have alcohol, Bobby's like, I love it.
No.
It's been great.
That's what everybody says. Every bar is awesome. Oh yeah, why wouldn't it?
I love this bar.
You want to get Bobby's bar review? He's freaking going lit.
So what's your story about the halftime?
It was very funny. So I was probably early 2000s. I was gone from the Saints for 4 years, and I came back. And I don't know, it's probably 2003, 4, whatever. And Bill Murray happened to be at a game. And my spot to sit was the press box at Midway had like this concrete ledge, and then it was a few feet before the next seat. So that's where I would watch. It wasn't like a ticketed spot or whatever, and that was the only place to watch. And it was right behind home plate, and it was a good spot. So Bill was sitting in the row in front with some friends, sitting back there, and we're kind of chatting back and forth. And he's like, oh yeah, he goes, we're supposed to go to this bar after the game, down the street. And I was like, down the street? He goes, yeah, they say it's down that way. And I'm like, Gabe's? He's like, no, I know Gabe's. And he goes, no, it's not Gabe's. It's down the way. He goes, I don't know. They got like $5 pitchers and jukebox. And I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, I figure out his halftime rec. I'm like, halftime rec. Yeah, that's it. I'm like, Bill, I'm like, that's a like dive of dive bars. I mean, it's fun. And he goes, yeah, no, that's where we're going. I'm like, well, I was worried he was going to get, harangued and all that stuff and all that. He's like, no, we're gonna go. He goes, and they got bocce down in the basement or something. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, we're that's where we're
He
going.
loves it.
So we go there. He sits there for 3 hours, has a blast. Not too many people bug him, and he's that's what I love about Minnesota. Everybody was like coming by, going, thanks for doing the Saints, Bill. Awesome to see you, Bill. They might, like 5 people might have asked for a picture. And he loved it. He was not being bothered at all. So we go to leave, and he's like, he had a rent-a-car, and Annie and I are standing there, and he said, how do I get down to the St. Paul Hotel? So I start to tell him, he's pointed east. So I start to tell him, go down this way, and then I remember they have that effed up intersection. I forget where it is. It's like Front Street,
Oh, yeah,
and
Como
it's
Front
like
and-
looks like a
Yeah.
5-pointed star.
Right at Dale
this
there.
thing's just a mess.
Close along
And
with,
so,
with your atheist night.
yeah, exactly. It was 5-pointed. The pentagraph. So I start to tell him that, and I'm like, no. I said, you know what? There's a really screwed up intersection, and if you take the wrong turn, you get in the wrong side of town, and blah, blah, blah. I said, do this. I said, turn around, go back to Lexington, hang a left, you'll hit 94, and once you hit 94 east, you'll know. And he goes, yeah, I got that. He goes, but why wouldn't I go that way? He goes, isn't that shorter? I got to go back this way? And I'm like, yeah, but you won't get lost, and just do
Trust
that.
me on this.
It's okay. Gets in his car, drives east. And I'm like, and Annie are like, all right, we did all we could
tried.
do. The next morning, I'm in the office at 7 o'clock, and there's a knock on the door. We weren't even really open yet. And I walk out there, and there's 2 uniformed St. Paul cops standing at the door. I'm like, fuck, what happened? I thought it was like one of our players got into a fight or something. And I'm like, hey guys, what's up? How can I? They're like, we're so sorry, Tom. And I'm like, what? Well, can we come in for a second? I'm like, yeah. So they go in. Well, they're like, well, a couple guys in the squad saw this car driving around lost, and you know the area, right? Like east of Front. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, we just figured there. I'm like, oh shit, they pulled Bill over. They thought he was trolling for hookers. And they had him up on the hood. This is the cops telling me this. Is like, we had him up on the hood and we were going to take him downtown. And he said, officer, can I please take off my hat? And he took off his hat and they're like, oh my God, it's Bill Murray. And they're like, we're really, really sorry. We didn't know it was him. They're completely apologizing for this. And they're like, it's all good. Like we escorted him right down to the front door of the St. Paul, and it's fine, but we're really sorry about this. I was like, oh my God,
I love it, God. And here we're gonna ask you, like, give us something on Bill Murray, and that's perfect.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, the one at White Bear Yacht Club with the golf clubs, that was fun too.
Yeah, that might be good. Bill Murray golfing at White Bear Yacht Club. Tell the story you told us earlier before we met. So you went golfing with Bill Murray at White Bear Yacht Club.
Yes, only time I've ever golfed at White Bear. And we get out there, and Bill didn't have any clubs, so he rents clubs or whatever. And he gets out there and proceeds. For those of the uninitiated, it's a tough course. Like you cannot stand at one tee box and see the pin or whatever. I mean, it's just blind approaches after blind approaches. And he gets out there and plays the round of his life. I mean, he's on absolute fire. We get back to the clubhouse after the round. Walks in, and the pro had told people, hey, Bill's playing. So there's a few people standing around waiting for Bill to come in. And he's like, well, Bill, how was the round? Bill was like, I had an absolute great time. What a gorgeous course. It's in great shape. Blah. I want those clubs. And he goes, what? He goes, yeah, I want to buy those clubs. And the pro was like, oh, okay. He goes, great, Bill. He goes, yeah, that's a great set of clubs. He goes, let me get an order written up. He goes, probably take a week or two to get them out to you if you haven't. He goes, no. I want those clubs. And he's like, what? He goes, those clubs right there. I want to buy those. He's like, well, Bill, those are renters. And he's like, I want the clubs.
Renter
Guy's
clubs.
like, okay. So he writes up the order and sells Bill the clubs. And Bill's like, I want the bag too. And the pro turns the bag around, and it's got rentals stenciled on the side of the bag. And he goes, but Bill, it's and he goes, yeah, I know, I'm paying Pebble Beach in a couple of weeks. He goes, I got to have this with me.
Oh my God.
I want everybody to know that I've got rentals. Yes.
and he brought it to
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Oh, God.
And he probably played well with them, and he had the rental on the side, so he got the whole notoriety with him.
Yeah, the Bill Murray laugh. Yeah, absolutely.
So he was really an owner. He was really part owner.
Oh yeah, and he was into it.
Yeah,
or is into it. He still owns the team down in Charleston, and he's always got ideas on promotions and marketing and different things we should be doing. He's just super engaged. He's a baseball fan.
Yeah,
he'll tell you he's like, the most fun you can have at a baseball game on the planet is in St. Paul. You just love
Great. Well,
it here.
I mean, what about the new craze, right? The Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, and here's my thing. I what they're doing, I love. I love that they're pushing boundaries. They're pushing limits. They're making.
But they're the Globetrotters, right?
They are. They are.
Because I don't think you're supposed to beat them.
They do lose though.
They do.
Like in fairness, yeah. They have a they're Washington Generals of this team called the Party Animals, and they are out there playing to win, and they don't win every game they play. It's not like a Globetrotters thing. For my taste, they screw around too much with the rules, which makes it a little difficult for me. I haven't seen them in person, so it's not fair. But you can't deny they're a force. I mean, they played Cooperstown. They got a thing in the Hall of Fame, and people love them. And the fact that they're getting people who wouldn't give baseball the time of day involved, and at least at some semblance of a baseball game, as the rest of us know it, is good. That's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what they're doing. Full marks to them.
You guys paved the way for that.
Say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
I mean, obviously, Bill and Mike and
Jesse. Jesse founded the team. He'll tell you that. I mean, he would say he's a Mike Veeck disciple. He's like, the stuff you guys did was trailblazing, and he's like, it paved the way for what we're doing. So yeah, he's a fan.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at any of your promotions? They're like, what are we doing? Like, what is that? Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, there's a couple that stick out. Like we had a run there between like the Randy Moss Hood Ornament Night and the Love Boat, and then
With the congressman or
did.
the senator, whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's a good story. The bobblefoot. We had a run there for a few years that was pretty good, and we might have got a little full of ourselves internally. We never did externally, hopefully, but internally we might have think, yeah, we're good. And we had an idea. I think it was the 250th anniversary of Darwin's Origin of Species, and this is where we learned like you can't overthink these things. You can take it too far away because we've always respected Saints fans. Like they do function at a very high, fun, intellectual level. They get the gags that we're doing, but we might have reached a little too far. So it was the 250th anniversary. We thought we'd do a bobblehead that was like Charles Darwin on one side and the head would spin around and it was Cro-Magnon Man. And we thought we were geniuses. We're like, oh my God, this thing's going national. It's unbelievable. 250. Like, who's read Origin of Species when you really get down to it? Not a lot of people.
Nobody on none of our listeners.
No.
have
And a few people might know who Charles Darwin is.
Yeah.
But that's one where we got over our skis and it 110% bombed. It was the dumbest thing we ever did. So we keep a bobblehead there just to remind us how stupid we can be at times.
I love it.
Got the limits, right?
I love it.
You got the limits.
Oh God, great stories. All right, I got a question for you. What former player would you love to sit down and have a beer with these days? Because you had some really like cool, talented,
Your
special.
boy JD Drew, St. Louis boy.
Yeah, he ended up with the Cardinals. That was fun. Walt Jocketty and all those guys came up to woo him one time, and I hung out with Gabe's. You know, and this is like major league guys. They come into town, and we're going to meet JD after the game and we did, and it was about an 8-minute meeting because JD didn't drink. He read his Bible and fished. And he was an awesome.
So he didn't
awesome
like
player.
Aints Day?
He would not have been supportive of Aints Day. Fortunately, that came after his time with us. But he was a great kid. Giggles at Gabe's got him like this
Unbelievable
old
player.
beat up Cadillac to get around. Yeah, he was a force. The sound when the ball came off his bat. That's all right. See, this is why my 5-minute attention span's veering off. So
That's good.
hold
That makes for
the
a good
thought we
interview.
just had. But the sound when the ball came off his bat, and the same with Strawberry and a lot of the big league guys, is just so different. I'll drop a name here. One of my childhood heroes was Lou Brock, and he was doing. He came into St. Paul. I watched about 6 innings of a Saints game with him in our sunroom suite we had out in right field. Lou was in a suit, man. He was always like the classiest dude, and he was in town doing. He was pimping like a diabetes drug because he had diabetes, and we sat in that sunroom, just him and I, and watched the game. And I don't know how we got around to the subject, and he was asking about Darryl. And he said, what was it like having Darryl here? He goes, he was quite a player. And I said, yeah. And I told him the story, like, you'd be like at Midway, all the work you had to do was kind of behind the stands. And so while you're getting ready for the game, you can't see the field at all. But you could hear like batting practice going on or whatever, and you're running around getting stuff ready. And when Darryl came up and got in the cage, like the sound changed. It was the weirdest freaking thing. Like it was just the sound. And so Lou and I were talking about that, and he's like, man, he goes, I never thought about that. He goes, yeah. He goes, I can think about it now. He goes, Willie Stargell, Al Oliver, and he starts going through all these players, and he goes, but the biggest one, Josh Gibson. And I'm like, holy cow, this dude played with Josh Gibson. He goes, man, he goes, it was like a cannon going off when Josh hit that ball. And it was the coolest conversation, but that's what I remember about Darryl is batting practice. It's crazy. I mean, he hit some immense bombs, but see, all right, I'm good here. I haven't had too much of this Stilly Peach. I'm remembering where we were.
Yeah.
I would say the poster boy for independent ball and the guy who's been the most fun and he's been so good to us is Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar.
And I would hang out with Kevin any day of the week. He's the most real guy. After I left the Rays, was with the Rays for 2 years. I stayed in Florida for 2 more years, and one of Mike's buddies is Dave Dombrowski, who's now runs the Phillies, but he was running the Marlins at the time, and he was the president of the team. He wasn't just running the base, so he just needed some help with marketing. And Mike and I were both in Florida at the time, so we go to Miami once a month and consult with him. And we're there one time, and Sammy Sosa was with the Cubs and in town, And we walk out onto the field for BP, and there's Kevin, who was playing with the Marlins at the time, and he's got his arms up on the bar of the batting cage, and he's just sitting there watching Sammy just crush batting practice bombs, like a 10-year-old. He's sitting there. So I kind of wind up next to him, and I got my arms on the cage or whatever, and he looks over at me, and he's like, goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Kevin, the real question is, what the hell are you doing here?" And he's like, "Dude, I know." He goes, "Every morning I wake up and I'm like this," and he's like grabbing his face. He's like, I should not be here." And so he's got his Marlins BP jersey on, and he opens it up, and he's got a Saints T-shirt underneath.
No way.
I'm like, "Get the hell out of here." I'm like, "Where?" He goes, "Yeah, Annie sends me 10 of them every year." Our buddy Annie, she was a little sweet on Kevin. She would send him 10 just regular old Saints workout T-shirts. And he goes, "Every game I play, I got a Saints T-shirt on underneath." He goes, "Dude, I was this close to quitting." And he's like, "If it wasn't for the Saints," he goes, "I had no way I'm standing here." And this is before the World Series. This is way before all the really good stuff that happened to him. And he's just the most real.
That's so cool.
Guy. He's like, "Dude, I should have been like coaching high school baseball."
Right.
He said, "But I wasn't because of the Saints." And he's like, "And here I am."
Yeah,
won a
great
World Series.
career.
He won a World Series. And he arguably, the Red Sox were before he got that walk against the Yankees when they're down 3-0 and whatever it was, 8th or 9th. They were dead.
Yeah. Right.
And he had the whole cowboy up thing or whatever
Yeah.
and all that. And he's just a prince, man. He's just
That's so
really
cool.
He's great.
Strawberry says something similar about the Saints, right? Like his career was over. He
Yeah.
didn't want to play baseball anymore.
Listen, the doc, he
It's even deeper though, right?
yeah, he's like, I didn't really, he goes, "I certainly didn't care about baseball." And he goes, "Honestly, I didn't really care about living anymore." He goes, "That's how low I was." And he said, "But, my agent told me," he goes, "No, you need to go out here and try this. You need to keep playing. That's what you're born to do." And so he did, but he had no interest in doing it. I mean, he had none. But he came here, and he'll, if he was sitting here today, he'd tell you, he goes, I'm still here because of the St. Paul Saints and St. Paul. And he goes, the way the community embraced me and the love they showed me and all of that. He goes, "I had no idea." He goes, "I never had fun playing baseball." He goes, "When I was a little kid," he goes, "but then you get good and you have all these expectations. I'm 18 years old. I'm in New York City." And he goes, "It's not fun." Mm-hmm. He goes, "It's just expectation after expectation." And he goes, "It's heady, because it's big leagues and all that stuff. And you're flying on charters." And he goes, "I'm at 19. He goes, "But I never had fun."
They set those two up to fail.
Yeah.
I mean,
They absolutely
Dwight
did.
Gooden and Darryl
Yep.
Strawberry. You can't just take somebody and do
a lot of the Mets guys like Keith Darling and Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez will say, "We did not do right by those kids."
Right.
We were all caught up in the New York thing, and we were adults and could handle it, and nobody sat them down.
Right. That's too bad.
It really is, and both of them, suffered. I think, because of it.
I mean, Gooden was my favorite pitcher.
Yeah.
It was
it's
just
guys all
crazy.
world.
Yeah.
And the same with Darryl.
And
I mean,
Darryl
Darryl should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't be because he didn't play long enough or didn't have the. But I mean,
Right.
geez, it makes you crazy. But to hear him kind of come full circle with that and how St. Paul's sort of at the heart of that is really, really cool.
That is cool. I mean, because they did embrace him. I mean, everybody loved him because of who he was, but I think once you get to know that person, he was a human being.
Yeah.
With a good heart.
Yeah.
And he was just set up kind of to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
He absolutely, man.
I kind of feel like we're setting Bobby up to fail being on this podcast because it's a lot. The notoriety, the
much.
celebrity, the drinking is going down a slippery slope real quick. We should sit him down after this podcast.
Okay.
You know what I love about the Saints? You talk about whether it's Millar or Strawberry or Isla Borders, the first female pitcher, the guy who befriended Strawberry with the guy born with no legs.
Dave Stevens.
Yeah, Dave Stevens, like unbelievable, like great stories. So my question add on to that is, do you feel like now that they become a Twins affiliate, a AAA team, they're going to lose some of that, that excitement and that fun and that kind of crazy atmosphere that it's like, we need to get more serious now. These are professional baseball players.
Well, for sure. I mean, you can't. We don't. In the office there, we don't control the the players anymore. They used to be we could make, like Dave Brooks says, I make the rules, I break the rules. We could break rules. We can't do that anymore. So that part of it, yes, I don't think you're going to see. You won't see Kevin Millar come back to hit a home run.
Sure.
You won't see a woman pitch for us. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think at some point a woman is going to pitch in the big leagues, but it's not. It certainly isn't on the horizon. So yeah, and that part is, so you just have to find it in other places.
Yeah.
You have to keep your edge. That's the biggest thing. Is that's what we are. I mean, we acknowledge from the very start we're not the best baseball in the Twin Cities. When you do that, you go over to Target Field. They're the greatest players. I love baseball. I go over there a lot. Watch the Twins. It's great baseball.
Right.
The best. We're not that, and we'll never be that. So you just got to find a place where you can have impact with the promotions and keep your edge and stay relevant and keep people talking about you, keep them entertained. But yeah, it's definitely harder. There's no question. I mean, Major League Baseball is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they act like it. But I'm not on. There's some great people there. I'm not throwing stones.
Sure.
But
right.
but that's what it is.
It's business.
Yeah. It's it's big business.
Right.
So.
But you'll continue to do your promotions, continue to do the fun stuff,
yeah.
continue to do the back rubs with Sister Rosalind. Is that her name?
Well, no, Roz is in retirement now. We had she was she's in the documentary too, and she's just
unbelievable.
She's just an ace. And this is a true story. Roz is the ultimate ham. Like she is. Bill Murray called her that. He's like, the first time he met her, he's like, oh my God, what a ham. Like he said, he meant it in a good way. And this is no lie. So my brother's in Holy Spirit Parish in St. Paul, and Father Dan Haugen, who was the pastor there until recently, is kind of like, Dan would bring her to the Saints games and stuff, and I see Dan regularly, and he's a wonderful man. But he was telling me the other day, he goes, they moved Sister into kind of an assisted living thing now, and he said, I was over there, and he goes, she's getting up there, and he said, I leaned down, and I said, Sister, how are you doing? And she said, I'm good, Father Dan, I'm good. She said, my the people in the she calls it the home. She goes, the people in the home here are asking me about my movie. Is it out yet?
My movie.
That's what she said. She's like, my movie.
That's fantastic.
So that's how she looks at this saying a second chance. It's like her movie. Is my movie, is it out yet?
She's a saint. She's definitely a saint.
She's so cool.
That is awesome. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, it was it gets harder.
Yeah. Right.
It's good. I think we're all up for the challenge. We did one this year that we kind of snuck by them because they want to know all your what you're doing all the time, and that even though it's not like they're not canceling anything necessarily, the fact that can you send us the schedule, and then they'll have little comments like we wanted to do artsy fartsy night. It's Lower Town, it's arts community. Yeah. And they came back and they're like, yeah, we don't think you should use the word fartsy. I'm like, and it's like a 26-year-old kid at Major League Baseball going, yeah, really, I don't know if they should use the word fartsy in Lower Town. We're like, oh, for the love of God, we've been doing this 30 years, okay?
Yeah.
We're fine.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of what they do. But we snuck on April 20th. We let folks in at 4:20, and they could come in. And if you came in early for batting practice, you got a free Twinkie or a bag of nachos.
For the munchies. You got your munchie fix.
They didn't catch that one, so we just kind of slid that one by.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's good.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bobby?
I don't know. What other sports do you like?
A couple. Before I was ever a baseball fan, I was a hockey fan.
Really?
Big Blues guy.
Interesting.
Dan Kelly was the announcer for the Blues back then, and that guy made more hockey fans. It's actually a pretty good hockey town. I mean,
it's a great town,
and it's gotten to really kind of like there's players that come out of there now.
Right. Yeah.
But like it's still I was just down there. It's not a sanctioned sport in high school. They're all club teams.
All club teams. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, the high school I went to, CBC, was a pretty good, was a really good school. But I love hockey.
Well, that's cool.
So now
come to
that you're getting out of the Saints, you sold out. Sell out. Maybe you go hockey next. What's the next sport you go to?
I don't know, man. I'm good here. Like
Okay.
I'm really having fun with with this new ownership group because it's radically different than what I've been used to. I mean, we had 25 employees or whatever, and these guys are big. So we're talking about doing some fun things. One of the things we're working toward is we want to put a Ferris wheel up in CHS Field, like one of those really cool ones. Like and have you ever been to Vegas? They have the high roller out there.
Yeah.
It's like 600 foot tall.
Yeah.
We're not going to do 600 feet, but we want to do like a big, like Navy Pier has one,
Yeah.
St. Louis at the train station has one. We're going to do something really cool that's like makes a statement. So there's little things we can still do, I think, that are going to be fun and impactful in the community. So no, I'm not going anywhere. It's good,
right.
but it's I don't own them anymore. So
Still work there though.
still
got some
I
influence.
still
Yeah,
work
a
there.
lot of influence.
Yeah.
A lot
It's
of
diminishing though, along with my hairline.
Well, we got to get to that studio or the man cave and see that drum
Oh
set
yeah,
and-
that was fun. It's good. It's a storage room inside a storage room. Yeah, you guys got to come down.
Keep
We're-
drumming. Keep playing.
We got a bar. We got a band. We got a pool. We got a pond. Pond is good for us.
That's good.
Also, it's. I mean, I appreciate you coming down. I mean, we've been talking about this for a little while, but glad it all worked out. Glad we got you on before Garrity took you.
Yeah, everybody at Pull Tab Sports was fighting to get you on, and
Oh, man.
Bobby Finn knows everyone. Got you in first.
Right on. No,
That's
this was
right.
fun, man. You guys
Yeah.
are a riot.
Yeah,
And
we
the-
appreciate
the
it.
podcast is awesome. It's just cool as hell. Like the sponsors you got, are just it's really fun. And there's like I'm older, so I like the whole podcast thing is like totally new to me.
Right.
So I'm just last 5 years been getting into it, but it's cool, and you guys do an awesome job, and you're a ton of fun.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and
Well, I'm looking at. Can I talk about the
Yeah.
Bible up there on the wall, the 10 things?
Yeah,
You can do
our
anything
10
you want.
Commandments
Who
on
did
the
that?
wall.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like so much of that stuff I'm looking, and I identify with it because of the Saints are 110% everything you guys are. Like look, vanilla is not on the menu.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My God, we're gonna be dead in a few years. So just
Enjoy.
and not everyone's creative, but everyone is creative. We have our groundskeeper and our business manager. Everybody, the ops guy, is in promo meetings because everybody has like a different weird outlook on life. You
Sure.
know,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Everybody is creative.
And then you feed off of it too,
Yes.
right? That's how you come up with
Yeah,
that.
so there's kind of rules on the wall here at Pull Tab Sports around kind of the belief system, which is awesome. There's 10 of them, and everything from family first to dreamers who do, and vanilla isn't on the menu, and nobody's better than we are. Video makes the world go around. Little things matter. So it's stuff like that just kind of like builds a culture and tells you like,
yes,
hey, let's
110%. It's so awesome. So I thank you guys for giving us a little time and to be on here, and it's super fun, and whatever we can do to help. Down the line, we're here and we want to do
we
it.
appreciate it. This is the St. Paul podcast, right,
This
Bobby?
is,
This
yeah,
is
the Saints.
Bobby's
Boom.
Saints would look really good in the background.
East Side mentality.
Let's
St.
see
Paul
about that.
Saints. Keep it East Side.
Keep it East Side.
That's right, baby.
But hey, thanks again, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thanks
you.
for
listening, everyone. We can be heard on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and other platforms you watch your podcast. Please like and subscribe. Tell a friend about us. Last of all, just like we learned on the East Side, work hard. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and tell it like it is. Help your neighbors. Try to contribute in a positive way. Smile, laugh, be a good person. And unlike Phil Cuzzy, we still got Phil Cuzzy on here?
Unlike Phil Cuzzy.
Unlike Phil Cuzzy, don't be a dick. We are out.
We're out. Don't be a dick.
3 long days, some I don't know. It takes a little more than what you show, and that's yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.